What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Train With Me, episode 2. Today we're gonna go over back, one of my favorite muscle groups to work. I love back. It's such a huge muscle just to beat up. So guys, I want you to take this whole experience as me legitimately coaching you. Everything that I've learned in the past through science, biomechanics, and then through just my experience coaching people and seeing the variety of different bodies adapt, and common mistakes, common errors, and then common things that people can get right away. So I want you guys to take this experience as me coaching you. Everything I tell you is exactly how I coach my athletes. Having said that, when we talk about the back, and the back being one of my favorite movements to do, I find I tap into that really well. And the biggest thing that helps me right away, and actually helps my clients even more, is knowing what muscle groups aren't involved in the back right away. And I do the same thing when it comes to posing. So when someone's posing and they want to do like a front double bicep or back, whatever it is, I let them know the muscles that aren't involved because those muscles don't do those actions. So for instance, if I want my lats to get bigger, my traps don't do the motion to make my lats bigger. Traps do this. They lift your shoulders up. They don't widen your lats. So when someone tries to pose and they're doing this, I'm like, well, relax your shoulders because it's not in your traps, right? So the same thing when it comes to back. Understanding that what muscles are involved and what muscles are involved. So let's get right away, let's get rid of the muscles that aren't involved this at all. Okay, let's just right away look at this. We're doing back. That means the majority of what's going to be helping your back is probably in the back. What's not going to help your back is probably mostly in the front. The only thing in the front that's going to really help your back is your core. Why? Because you turn your core on, everything kind of goes on, right? What's not involved is your anterior delt. Now remember, everything we do is going to kind of cross over from week to week to week. So we know the anterior delt does shoulder flexion, right, and horizontal adduction. It doesn't do what the lat does, right? The lateral head or the medial head does shoulder abduction, and then it does shoulder flexion, helps with flexion, right? So both of those movements don't help with a pulling movement. We're talking a pull. So those movements aren't pulling, they're actually pushing, right? They're pushing away, they're pushing away, they're pushing, okay? Okay, before we move on, let's get familiar with the back. Let's just get familiar with what it actually does. Where it even is, and what other parts of the body it involves. Where it connects, insertions and whatnot. So check it out. Your lats are like this unbelievably big, awesome, functional muscle that basically sits at the mid part of your T-spine, around your T7, and then finishes around your L5. So it connects right from there under your shoulder blades and goes all the way right down to your the iliac crest, or what we call like your pelvis. It also connects to a few ribs and then to your humerus, to your arm bone here, right? It connects there. So its job is shoulder regression, mostly when it comes to it. So before we go even further, let's go over what it actually does, some of the movements. First of all, we have shoulder extension. Basically pulling, think about from a humerus, think about just pulling from your elbow up. That straight arm pull down action, that's shoulder extension, right? Then if you put your arms out wide like this, we have shoulder abduction. Shoulder adduction, so bringing the arms back into the body. So it's pulling down, so think about doing pull downs or pull ups, that pulling of the motion here. Then we have internal rotations. So think about doing, like for bodybuilding standpoint, a front lat spread. Flaring your lats helps with that internal rotation of the shoulder. Moving on from there, we have hyperextension assisting, right? So that part of the lower lats helps, assist with the hyperextension. And then we have unilateral lateral flexion. So your body being able to pull itself this way and this way. those are your lats, right? So the lats are doing a lot of pulling. They're either pulling the arms this way, they're pulling them this way, or they're pulling it this way, or they're hyperextending. What I believe is the best exercise for your back. Remember, when we talk about exercise selection, we're talking about the best exercise that's gonna be your best bang for its buck, meaning it's gonna get the most out of the lats and everything else just because of the posture, position, the mobility of it, and the full range of motion. So, pull-ups. Those are my first, if you can only do one back exercise and develop and get strong and have a nice V-taper and always be able to progress, pull-ups. What I like to coach is, I want you to think if you're pulling with your elbows, you're not pulling with your hands at all. So I really do recommend getting straps. I'm a strap dude. If you're trying to get your, work on grip strength, do as many sets you can do before you use straps. Reason why I like using straps is because if I'm trying to target my back, I want my body to be able to do the most it can do. I don't want to lose rest because I lose my grip strength to hold the weight. I want to be able to exhaust the muscle by getting everything out. Sometimes you don't use straps. Well, you lose a few reps because you just couldn't hold the weight. You could definitely do more, but you're like, oh, I could have done like 3-4 more, but I lost my grip. I recommend using straps. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the pull-up, and we're just gonna go just a little bit outside shoulder width apart. Now, a couple points to make. The further out you go, the less range of motion you're gonna get. The closer you come in, the longer range of motion you're gonna have, right? So we're just gonna go a little outside so we get a nice full range of motion while we're able to get a lot more tension on our lats by having a little bit of outside width and being pronated, right? Remember, if I want to make it a little easier, I can go to the hammer grip or neutral, or I can go to supinated. Now, supinated this while will be pretty hard on the shoulders. So if you're gonna go next, I would go definitely neutral grip. Now, when we're doing these, again, remember, we want to make sure that our shoulders should be beside our heads like this. Now, if we can't do that, we got to work on mobility, guys. It is not, there's no excuse to continue to let yourself be in a position to get injured because of your lack of wanting to stretch for 5-10 minutes pre or post workout. It's very important. The only way we can do things correctly is if we have the proper range of motion to do it. Other than that, your body's gonna give you what you're gonna get it, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. So if we can only get 90% range of motion, okay, fine, we're only gonna get 90% of the fullness of what that muscle can actually do, and actually keeping it from getting injured. Moving on to this, again, make sure we start in a position where we can be in an overhead position. Then when we're pulling, we're not pulling with our hands, we're gonna pull with our elbows down to the side. And we're gonna try to pull our chest up. Now when it comes to our waist down, you wanna keep your spine straight. You wanna keep your spine from doing all this kind of stuff. So if you're gonna cross your legs at the bottom, that's fine, cross your legs, but make sure that your core is engaged and make sure your legs are also engaged too. Your whole body is basically doing a plank while your lats are pulling it up. So just watch and learn. Here's my shoulders that are not regressed. Now I'm regressing my shoulders. Engage my lats, chest up, straight head. Now I want to pull my elbows to the ground, then down. Now I don't want to come down and do this. I want to keep myself still, engaged. So my aggression is still there. We're pulling up again, and back down. Lats engaged, again.
So remember guys, always pull with your elbows. Don't try and grip so hard with your hands. Think about connecting with your elbows and trying to pull your elbows down on the ground. Again, keeping your shoulder blades regressed, keeping your back always engaged so you're not letting your shoulders loose at the bottom. And then always remember keeping tension on the lats, pulling up. Now if you can't do a full pull up, you can grab resistance bands, or I have a tip in the next part of the video.
So if you can't do a pull-up, women, you should be able to do 25% of your body weight for 10 reps each arm. Men, you should be able to do 30% of your body weight for dumbbell rows each arm. So if you can't do a pull-up, those are numbers you can play with. So if you're doing, say, a cable row, or we have dumbbells, that's the weight you want to put on. So doing the exercise is another thing we need to make sure we can freshen up too, because I see this exercise done wrong all the time. Now I'm going to give you a basic version of this. I'm not going to put in any kind of stretch techniques and whatnot. Just a basic way to make sure you're doing this right. And it's very, very easy. And some of you guys might already know the tip, but the tip is when we're pulling, we want to make sure we pull, remember that regression, pulling down. I want you to think about pulling the elbow down and back only as far as it goes before we have anterior rotation of the arm. I see it happen all the time. You see a lot of people do this exercise, and then from here they're doing this. Or they're pulling up here. Elbow down. See, right away, I set my shoulder. I tell my athletes, set your shoulder by activating your lats. Pulling the elbow to the ground. My lats are engaged. Now from here, we're gonna pull my arm down, pushing my arm down. So we're pushing from here, that constant tension down, and then pulling back naturally from here to here. And pull and squeeze. Pull, and then we don't have any of this kind of stuff. Now a couple things too is when you're pulling, make sure that we pull and our hands stay straight. Don't try and pull all the way in and then try and get a little extra range of motion by doing this with your wrist. Now for the dumbbell row, same idea. So whenever I say cue, or if I cue, push your elbow to the ground or where your hips are going. So if we're gonna do a dumbbell row, my hips in this position, I'm gonna go push it to my hips position. I wanna push it down that way. So when I pull, I'm pulling that here. So I get a good angle, 90 degrees in my arm. We don't wanna pull from here, right? And we don't wanna pull back and doing this kind of stuff. Now, we wanna engage right away. Pulling that shoulder back already. Scapula retraction, and then from here pulling. So in one motion it'll be here and here. Okay guys, that's a wrap. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode on back. Just go over some easy cues for you guys to remember. Guys, don't pull with your hands, pull with your elbows. And then let's greet our chest to the bar. Take those tips for you guys. Try them out, let me know. Make sure you write in the comment too any other muscle group you want me to go over. Write in the comments what you want me to go over specifically when it comes to training only. Let me know. Again guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel please. And thank you guys for liking it and hit that notification button so next time I post a video, yeah, the first one to get it. Anyway, until next time guys, thanks for joining and keep dream chasing. Peace.